Whether it's the game's eye for detail when it comes to intoxicants, the socially progressive undercurrent of its Old West narrative, or a morbidly lustful romance between siblings, we're taking a look at things only adults will notice in Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead 2 made a lot of waves leading up to its release, and one story that garnered a lot of attention was Rockstar co-founder Dan Houser's interview with New York Magazine, in which he discussed the company's rigorous and demanding workload. The phrase 100-hour weeks has been haunting Rockstar since, as outrage and condemnation over the company's allegedly unfair working conditions quickly swept the internet. We can only imagine Rockstar's discomfort when fans uncovered one particularly scathing Easter egg hidden among the game's weaponry catalog. The Cattleman revolver ad reads, in part, "It is made by skilled laborers who work tireless hours each week and on the weekends for little pay in order to bring you the finest revolver in the field today." With its veiled first-person account of what it's like to work for Rockstar Games, this Easter egg hits the publisher close to home.
You gotta break them. You gotta break them like dogs. Break them. Yeah, break them like dogs.
Despite its savage story of outlaw life in the Old West, Red Dead 2 is loaded with comedic moments that tie the narrative together. One particular mission, A Quiet Time, finds you painting the saloon red with Arthur's buddy, Lenny. As Arthur gets more and more intoxicated, it's clear that Rockstar went to great lengths to replicate some tried and true tropes of classic adulthood drunkenness, especially in how nights like that tend to start.
Just one or two, right, Arthur?
Of course, just a drink. No big drama.
With or without this surprisingly good section of the story, the game sports an entire mechanical subsystem to measure the exact level of your inebriation. But what makes A Quiet Time so special as a mission is its staggering sense of realism. After all, who hasn't gotten so drunk that you thought everyone in the bar is the missing pal you're looking for?
Hey, where are you hiding now? Lenny!
I'm Clyde. You got the wrong fella.
Some of Red Dead Redemption 2's random encounters have a way of sticking with you for all the wrong reasons. The incident at the Aberdeen pig farm is one such diversion. There, you'll meet a brother and sister who are engaged in a majorly creepy relationship. It's not hard to understand what's implied when the two siblings seem to flirt.
That's for you.
Yeah.
There.
After inviting Arthur in for dinner and drink, Tammy Aberdeen and her pig-faced brother make a few overt advances with the kind of language you only pick up well into adulthood. If you drink the booze they have to offer, you'll find yourself drugged, duped, and left out to dry. As you pass out, the Aberdeens will loot your intoxicated body and leave you for dead in a corpse-ridden ditch south of the farm. If you return for vengeance and drag a hog-tied Tammy back out to the pit, she'll beg for mercy and cry for Mama's forgiveness. You have to wonder whether or not Mama's corpse was the first one to hit the pile. Some of Red Dead Redemption 2's NPC strangers are friendlier than others. A few of them are arguably a little too friendly, in the sorts of ways only mature audience members can truly comprehend. Picture Sonny, for instance, who takes advantage of your personable nature with a perverse reveal of his own. In a certain cabin, you'll encounter the creepy stranger who lures Arthur Morgan into his home for dark purposes. When you meet Sonny, he asks if you're looking for a friend, but it's clear that he's not really after a friend. After inviting you inside for a bite to eat, he'll knock you out and you'll be treated to a very disturbing scene.
Oh, you struggled and you lost, but it was quite a tussle, I tell you.
When the scene ends, you'll wake up in the middle of nowhere missing some money and a fair chunk of your health. It's probably best not to think on what just happened. From train robbing to headhunting, there are several sordid ways the protagonists of Red Dead 2 can earn a living, but only adults will notice the brutal condemnation of classism on display in RDR2's money-lending missions. Rockstar's writers seem to harbor a certain amount of contempt for an attitude that lurks behind the darkest notions of manifest destiny. This counter-philosophy is inherent in everything from the dialogue to Mr. Strauss's jacket and sharp-brimmed hat. Mr. Strauss even lays it all out when he tells you,
"It's legal work, Mr. Morgan. Debtors belong in prison. We are doing them a favor."
I'll make sure they see it in them terms.
Behind the subtext of this casual exchange is the cold reality of what it's like to owe the wrong people an uncomfortable sum of money. After all,
you know how it is. People is happy to borrow off someone like me, but more enthusiastic paying back to someone like you.
Of course.
So it goes that, over the course of money lending and other sins, the audience is treated to a raw slice of what Rockstar is really thinking when it comes to classism in America. South of the second A in Manzanita Post on your map, you'll find the remnants of a carnival wagon train. Strolling past the skeletons of conjoined twins, you'll discover a wagon housing the Madame Irene fortune-telling machine. If you strike the machine with your fist, Madame Irene will spring to life. Interestingly enough, a keen observer will likely notice that the Madame's fortunes are actually more truth than fiction. As Madame Irene consults the clouds for your guidance, the game draws from your player's statistics to compose a personalized message. For instance, if your facial hair is getting a bit unkempt, she'll give you some advice.
You do not gain wisdom from growing your beard long. Men stroke their beard because it itches, not because they're wise.
She'll also allude to the game's overarching narrative with statements that will mean a lot more once you've beaten the game.
A crone and a strumpet will give you equal guidance on your journey.
She'll also provide Rockstar's patented brand of anti-establishment commentary when she tells you that you cannot produce an endless fountain of wisdom.
Simply by tossing coppers. This is the only way of producing endless loyalty among the political class.
Not only is it an uncanny judge of your character, the Madame Irene fortune-telling machine in Red Dead 2 is actually full of accurate and insightful proverbs. One of Red Dead 2's most mature elements is a commentary on modern race relations, and it's one aspect of the game that younger gamers might not focus on. Rockstar Games, for their part, seems to impart a certain amount of progressive thinking into its protagonists. For instance, during one random encounter with a eugenics supporter, Arthur tells the man that he's known good people and bad people of all races, but when it comes to white people, well…
I've known good white people and bad white people. And above all, dumb white people.
The Hollywood Reporter goes further in its review of the game. You spend a fair amount of time in a gang of outlaws, which include ex-sharecroppers chased off their land and Mexican banditos looking for opportunity north of the border, and riding with them brings comments from other people in the world. Maybe some players won't get the satire, maybe they would just see what they want to see, but for Red Dead to strut into our world at this particular time and offer this much subversive racial commentary really is something. When it comes to immersion in video games, Red Dead Redemption 2 makes every effort to raise the bar. A large part of the game's realism stems from the historically accurate details to be found in every nook and cranny. But it takes a fair amount of research to understand that Red Dead 2 is about as historically accurate as games come, especially those featuring the American Old West. But for some analysts, this depiction isn't as well-rounded as it could be. The BBC's History Extra had particular criticisms, writing, "It seems that to make a video game about America's Western past, developer Rockstar Games is intent on offering tales of the brutal Old West that mostly revolve around violence and male outlaws." But as IGN's Jared Petty puts it, very few video games have so lovingly succeeded in recreating a different day and time to such a flavorful and granular degree. He is hoping that Red Dead Redemption 2's success in deriving such a measure of historical reality paves the way for more period pieces in gaming that vault us into an illusion of lifelong past and reward our curiosity with learning and discovery. Some locations in Red Dead Redemption 2 are better left to the prying eyes and minds of an older audience. Enter Guthrie Farm, west of Emerald Station and south of the western edge of the Heartland Overflow. Players will likely find this area while searching for the George Dixie cigarette card. There's plenty of action surrounding the farm itself. However, there's a much more awkward discovery waiting on the fringes for players who take the time to look and are old enough to put together the sordid clues at the scene. While exploring the barns at Guthrie Farm, players can find the strange sight of a dead man face down next to a prized sheep. Observant players might notice this deceased fellow's pants are down, and may also find a gold wedding ring they can loot from the sheep's body. An adult mind immediately sums up the perverse relationship between man and beast, which grimly suggests the poor chap perished after consummating their unwholesome union. Arthur Morgan works hard for the money. Whether you're trading with trappers, helping out strangers, or hauling in bounties, there's a lot you can do to keep your cash up if you actually put your mind to it. Some of your endeavors, including the Vandalin gang's notorious crime spree, don't always pay, but they will teach you some harsh lessons from the school of hard knocks. This hustle of harsh gains is a distinctly adult one, and is yet another contributing factor to Red Dead 2's radical sense of realism. Furthermore, the living and breathing world of the Old West that surrounds Arthur Morgan has its own capitalist ecosystem. And much like the real world, it's not all fun and games. Take the hard-earned wages at Annisburg, Roanoke, for instance. As the game's official website explains, life isn't easy for the miners and their families in Annisburg, which has been providing coal up and down the Lanaheechee River for almost a century. Working conditions are terrible horrible for little pay, and many men have lost their lives down the pit. No matter how you decide to earn a living as you make your way through Red Dead 2's fictitious frontier, chances are you'll recognize the telltale signs of adulthood littered throughout the narrative, if you've actually lived a little yourself. After all, the money keeps moving, but you probably won't have much for long.
Okay.
How does this work, Mac?
The money keeps moving in a circle.
But we don't have any money.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SVG videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.